I flew to Crete because I decided not to go to Mykonos about 2 weeks before I left on my trip for Greece, and honestly, I kind of screwed up. Crete is the biggest of all of the Greek islands, and it honestly needs an entire week all to itself to completely explore, and I only went for barely 2 days, so I'm gonna preface that this is really just like a couple of general ideas that you could do in a short period of time to add to your trip, unless for some reason you're like me and wind up in Crete for 2 days. So how do you get to Crete? Since it is an island, you're going to want to either take a plane or the ferry. I flew Aegean Airlines out of Athens down to the capital of Heraklion. It was about an hour flight. Otherwise, you can take ferry, but that can really range in time. I think the slowest one was up to 12 hours long. So it really depends on what your travel preferences are. Personally, I would recommend the flight just to save yourself some time, particularly if you don't have much on your trip. So what can you do in a short amount of time on Crete? As I said, we stayed in Heraklion, so that's really my main area of focus. A lot of actually what we wound up doing was just eating and general exploring. The first thing I would recommend is trying the grilled octopus at Triania. I'm not quite sure how it's pronounced.
Triena.
But it's this really cute little restaurant right near downtown, and it was the very first time I ever had grilled octopus, which was I knew something that I really wanted to make sure that I tried when I went to Greece, and I specifically waited to have it until I got to the islands. This restaurant is actually really close to the water, and my plate wound up only costing me 13 euros, which, fun fact, was the cheapest of all the grilled octopus that I actually had when I was in Greece, because this was not the only one I had. As I said, it's a really cute small restaurant. It does have an open air sort of concept, so the walls come up, which does allow the local cats to walk in, and if you're lucky, maybe you'll even get a lunch buddy. The one that we had just kind of stared at us asking for food. It really wasn't that big of a deal. They were just super cute and sweet. You can feed them. That's how they get most of their food. Just an FYI, like they will walk in and try to talk to you, and I loved it personally. The other things that I would recommend on their menu are the calamari and the roasted red peppers with feta. Absolutely divine. After we ate, they did bring us out these like complimentary like fruits soaked in like a thick syrup, and then shots, which I was not expecting and was actually the beginning of a bit of a trend on Crete with the restaurants that we were going to that I was not prepared for. If you really like ancient history, I would recommend going to the Palace of Knossos. This is a huge attraction in northern Crete. The palace was actually built around 1900 BC, making it over 4,000 years old, and is known for its association with the Greek myth of Theseus and the Minotaur. It was part of the Minoan civilization and was used for religious activities and as an administrative center, really rather than a royal residence. The area was first excavated in 1877 and has undergone much restoration, some being quite controversial as it was done incorrectly. So I would actually recommend spending a good 2 hours or so here because it's pretty large. They do have a guided tours if that is something that you would be interested in. Otherwise, it's very feasible to just walk around. There's plenty of information on all of the boards around the area. Also, you might get lucky. There are peacocks walking around. I would say view them from afar because they're actually not known to be very nice birds. The easiest way to get to the palace is going to be probably by taxi, and you can even buy your ticket online. The palace is about 20 minutes outside of Heraklion, and I did book a taxi there and back. Keeping on the food trend, I would also recommend Cine Euros. So this is an adorable little Euro spot, about 25-minute walk outside of the downtown area. I believe we found it as a recommendation on some other travel blog. They make traditional Greek pork gyros, and this was my first time ever having one. They do come in 4 sizes, which are going to be small, regular, large, and jumbo. I ordered the regular. It was so much food. I could not finish it. From what I've seen on pork gyros for the fries, they usually cut them as French fries, but they had a mix of fries and like potato slices in circles, and it was just kind of all loaded on there, so it was just so much potato. I would say for my first Greek gyro, 7 out of 10. The employees were super kind. The entire menu was actually in Greek, so I assume they probably don't get a lot of tourists or just deeper into the island, so it's more of like a local spot. A really great way to see more of the city, I would say, is just to walk around downtown Heraklion Heraklion. As I said, this was an extremely short trip. We just spent a lot of the time walking around that area and just trying to get a feel for it in general. We were there over the weekend, so if you're there on a Saturday night, we learned that it's actually a pretty big hotspot for all the teenagers to walk around, which we weren't really expecting, but I guess makes sense. And then on that Sunday morning, there really wasn't much open at all. And then things did open up later in the evening, like restaurant wise. We did also pop into the McDonald's because I have this thing about going to a McDonald's in every single country because it changes. And we wound up not getting something super unique off the menu because we had just eaten, so we kind of messed up there. But I did learn that the sign is green, which really surprised me. It was the first time I've ever seen a McDonald's in another country where the sign was a different color. But I just thought I'd throw that out there because I thought it was kind of cool and fun. For more food, I would also recommend a Piri Greek Eatery. This is a modern Greek restaurant in the downtown area. They do have a rotating menu, so if you find one online, don't expect it to necessarily be what they're going to be serving at that time. I wound up ordering this like sea bass with this like lemon sauce and seaweed. It was definitely creative. I did like it. We also did order their fried calamari with like a slaw and a mustard sauce, which was fabulous. And then at the end, they did bring us these like peanut butter cookies, like a cream and pistachios, as well as a whole bottle of liquor with 6 shots in it. And I was just kind of starting to get the sense that Crete was just trying to kill me. So where can you stay in Crete? I stayed downtown just because it made things a little bit easier and it was very walkable. We stayed at a small hotel called literally Heraklion Hotel, but it was spelled a little bit differently in English. They started it with an I. It was very cute and clean. We did have a balcony. We were able to see both the ocean and mountains, which I thought was very, very cool. It also had free breakfast, which is always a plus when you're spending so much money on everything else. How do you get around Crete? I would say that if you're only going to be there for a short period of time, taxis and walking are a pretty good way to get around. It's not super expensive. If you are going to be spending more time on the island, I would recommend getting a rental car, particularly if you're going to be driving out a lot farther. I believe one of the locals told us it takes about 6 hours or so to drive across the entirety of the island. If you're going to start in like Heraklion and then go to one of the coasts, probably get a rental car. It might just save you some more money. Another option would be scooters. However, if you want to get a gas-powered scooter, you will need an international driver's license. They do actually ask for it. But if you want to drive an electric scooter, you did not need an international driver's license, but all of those were sold out. It was recommended to us by the people at our hotel not to get the scooter because they said since we were there for such a short period of time, understanding traffic and people drive crazy, that it just wasn't safe and not worth it. So just take that with a grain of salt. I think my biggest regret about going to Crete is underestimating how large it was and how much time you really need on this island. My day and a half was not enough. I missed so many other things I could have done. There was a whole museum that I wanted to see. We didn't even have really much time to walk along the water because the biggest hotspot that I wanted to get to while we were there was the palace. The island really is booming with so much history, but I would really recommend giving it the attention it deserves. Go for at least a week if you're going to be going. You can always check out my blog post on Heraklion over on my website, Eden in Thread. I will put the link in the description below. And if you want the perfect tool to plan your next vacation, you can also check out my Notion template, the Ultimate Travel Planner. I will also leave a link for that. Please don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe if you found this helpful, as it really does help me out. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! Slow.